Australia.
Because it was in Perth and the expectation obviously was building about the Australia-New Zealand game, and we were quite young and quite inexperienced, but you knew enough history of our sport to know that the one you wanted to be on the court was the one that you played New Zealand.
New Zealand wins 40-34.
Australia have won.
Australia has retained the championship.
Australia have snatched a dramatic victory.
And New Zealand are world champions for 1987.
In 87 I captained, but things didn't go the right way for us. We were plagued with injury. We had 12 players for the first time and it didn't quite gel. We lost to a very impressive New Zealand side, but we learnt from it and we get tougher because of it.
It's Australia's World Championship.
Australia wins the World Netball Championship for the 7th time.
Welcome to the second match of our coverage of the 11th World Netball Championship from Kingston, Jamaica. Australia faces their toughest challenge to date in their final Pool A game against host Jamaica. Australia hasn't really found a rhythm yet, despite victories over two of the minnows in their pool, the USA and Samoa, and their 80-28 defeat of a rugged Trinidad team. The Aussies had more trouble than expected in downing South Africa 64-37 and will have to be at their best against the host nation, who have more impressive form on the board. Looking at the table for Pool A, it's obvious this game will decide the top position for the group. Jamaica has a 21-goal better differential after matches against the same opponents as Australia, and that has to be of some concern to coach Jill McIntosh. I'm joined by Monica Lamb to look at the starting lineups.
Catherine Cox has forced her way into the starting lineup for Australia. Many were expecting coming into this that it would be a Phoenix combination, but Cox and McMahon are starting goals. Richardson, the new kid in the block in centre as far as the Welds go. But Rebecca Sanders in at wing attack, and normally her role has been in centre, but a very strong defensive lineup. And against them for Jamaica, Carla Williams has forced Elaine Davis to the bench. Williams, the young rookie coming through. Mon, we almost expected Carla might get a start here. Yes, we did. She is the strength for Jamaica currently in that goal shooter role. I'm surprised at Simone Forbes' selection in that goal attack. She has put up 40 attempts to post in the last few games with 29 success rate, and I was expecting perhaps the vice-captain Elaine Davis to be in that forward line. Young Carla Williams walks to the circle for Jamaica. What a match for her, taking on the reigning world champions, and what a beautiful looking athlete she is. And Australia get us underway, day 7, Kingston, Jamaica, the World Netball Championships. This is a Pool A clash. The winner will finish top of the pool. The loser likely to play New Zealand in the semi-final. So much at stake as Australia sweep down to the circle. Cox to Sanders, who feeds it low to McMahon, steadies for the first shot of the match, and it rings out. And Monica Lamb, that noise, evidence that the support is all against the world champ. And here's hoping that the Australians will rise with that noise thundering in their ears as this game progresses. And Australia away with the first on the board. Kath Cox responsible for that. And Annie, I don't know how you're feeling, but my stomach is in knots. My hands are sweaty. And there might be a few mandatory toilet calls during the course of this game, because I can feel the nervousness for this Australian side. High ball into Carla Williams, who stumbles on her first shot. But the athleticism of the Jamaicans keeps the ball alive. They swing it back again. Forbes working as a third feeder. The high ball from Wild in again to Carla Williams, the 19-year-old student. Big raps on her coming into this match. She hasn't had too much experience on Australia, but she's forced the more experienced Elaine Davis out of the starting line as Australia turn it over, look for their second. Strength coming defensively from Ellis and Harvey Williams, trying to shut down Williams, Carla Williams and Forbes, and great intercept there. work from Casey Everingham, but it's turned back for Australia as the Aussies settle. Very static in the circle. Strong pressure from the Jamaican defence. Oberon Peterson stands out of play. She's the Jamaican captain, semi-professional basketballer who's worked in Finland, Germany, Turkey, and Australia put up their second shot. There's the work from Casey Everingham, showing great speed, but a little undisciplined in the offload, and Rebecca Sanders there to collect it. Umpires for this match, Justine Bourne and Bronwyn Spear, as the Jamaican crowd voiced their displeasure at the ruling. Some 3,000 fans packing this purpose-built stadium.
And unusual to see, Annie, that the Australians in the darker of the bottle green. We're used to seeing them in the gold. And quite hard to pick up, I suppose, in a flash of play down court.
I have to say my traditional preference of late is to see the yellow on court for Australia, although bottle green is our dominant colour. But of course, Australia with alternative strips have chosen the darker colour to differentiate from Jamaica, who are traditionally black and gold, and who have been labelled the Sunshine Girls by their fans.
And one wonders where it does.
Well, I think for the Aussie girls, they haven't seen too much sunshine. Coming into a match like this, it's difficult because there's almost been a monotony of routine. They've had to have rest, recovery, short sessions, only 20 minutes a day outside. Really, they twiddle their thumbs in the afternoon waiting for the match. This, the biggest of the championships to date for the Australian girls. As McMahon steadies, goes to the post for Australia's fourth. Contact call may yet give her the opportunity. And Australia, fourth straight, have taken a handy lead early in this match. Neither team has been in perfect form coming into day 7. When we make comparisons on their score lines, Australia against South Africa won by 27, Jamaica by 21. Against Trinidad and Tobago is Jamaica by 59, Australia by 52. And Western Samoa, the same story, big margins. The scoreline's not giving too much away. Jamaica, Carla Williams puts her first shot up, and the first for Jamaica. They trail by 3.
So that came with 10 minutes remaining in the first term. A long time waiting for that Jamaican goal to hit the scoreline.
Jamaica, the slower of the two teams to settle into this match. A lovely split from Forbes gives her close position, and now they're back in business to the difference.
Catherine Harvey-Williams, captain of Australia, celebrating her birthday against Jamaica today, and we'll just leave her age alone and just wish her all the best.
Yeah, happy 34th birthday, Kath. And she won't be thinking about that. The 16th she celebrated her birthday. This match being played at 5:15 early evening local time in Kingston. And as we mentioned, crucial match for both sides. Pool A deemed to be the more difficult of the two pools. New Zealand took England yesterday, so they have already established themselves as top of Pool B, and they will play the loser of this match in the semi-final. We'll be bringing you semi-final and final action live Sunday and Monday mornings. So stay tuned to ABC Sports for this 11th World Netball Championships as Jamaica sweep down court.
Build-up coming, Annie. I think that if we can mention that the comparison between both of these sides would probably be South Africa. As we see Williams line it up.
And they're within 1. The Sunshine Girls come back at the World Champs. And that young lady does not look daunted by the prospect of taking on the best keeper in the world in Lizzie Ellis. She has a definite height advantage, and it's not just the height, the length of the arms will test Lizzie Ellis. Up goes the high bomb. Carla Williams has posted 137 goals going into day 7 at 87%. So she's handy in the circle for Jamaica. Australia with the turnover.
She's handy also because she has the setup behind the others, and she's got the space behind her, so she's working the goal line very effectively.
All that Jamaica needs is the discipline to work it down to the circle and place that ball, and Australia will have a match on their hands, remembering that when these two met at the last World Championships in '99, it was quite a wide scoreline. last year at Com Games, it was a wide scoreline as Jamaica equalised, but the match was extremely physical. Back in '99, only 5 goals separated them.
I don't think that these two umpires here from the international pool of umpires, Justine Vaughan and Bronwyn Spear from New Zealand, will allow the game to get out of hand.
Well, we saw evidence of that in the match against Trinidad and Tobago. 3 player warnings to 3 different Trinidad and Tobago players, 1 removed from the game for a 2-goal period. So if that's the pattern and the calibre and quality of umpiring at this event, it's a good thing, and players need to respect that discipline. Fast break from Australia. They sweep it to the top of the circle. Richardson fires it into McMahon. It's a close-range shot, and Peterson, the Jamaican captain, will stand. No, it's their keeper, Everingham, that will stand out. And Australia get the buffer. A 2-goal lead. They've scored the last 2 on the row.
And that was due to Sharon McMahon's pressure in the mid-court with the turnover, and then sprinting straight back into the circle. She sets up again.
Quick hands from Richardson. Richardson doing a lot of the feeding work early in this match. And the Australian goalers shooting at 70%. Williams lines up for Jamaica. That's their 5th. Williams on 4 from 7 is below her normal accuracy. Plenty of depth in the camps of both teams. Maureen Hall for Jamaica and Jill McIntosh for Australia, knowing that if something doesn't twig, they can easily pull a rein and address it.
Evering trying to balk the shot there of McMahon. McMahon currently 6 from 8 at 75%. Australia with 11 attempts to the post. Jamaica with 8 attempts.
3 the difference. More than halfway through this first quarter. Front position held by Williams. So she's mixing up the holds on Ellis, making the Australian goalkeeper think. And they're back within 2. Back play to Schultz. She connects with South Australian teammate in Sanders. Contact call against Everingham, who's been a little costly early on. That's the 7th penalty called against Casey Everingham. It rings out for Australia. A bit of movement on these posts in Jamaica. Well, the Aussie girls fit and well coming into this match.
Whistle down court, not heard by the Jamaicans to set up.
Well, the setting of penalties has been prolific so far in this event. Some teams not used to the regimentation of it. Back play. As McMahon swoops on it. Peterson implores her team to attack the ball. Jamaica using beautiful speed, but that's through the hands of Forbes. See the difference. 5 out from the first break. By the floorboards. Wild, yes. Good bounce pass. Well, Jamaica equally love the floorboards as they do the air. The ball being put ahead into space for Australia. The fast, hard-line style of play they love. And another penalty as Maureen Hall, the Jamaican coach, looks on anxiously. Her assistant coach just saw to her left, Janet Guy, both of them former internationals for Jamaica.
Once again, Carla sets up in between Alice and Harvey Williams.
She hasn't quite warmed to the accuracy in this match. She's shooting at 56%, and I guess Australia ought to be thankful for that. 5 from 9. And that one snuffed out by good speed around the player from Everingham. And Jamaica come up with the turnover. A couple of times now they've not been able to capitalise on it. And that goes against McMahon, a causing contact call. Just clips the legs of Georgia Gordon.
Quick feet of Sharon McMahon trying to come in front, just clipping there the heels of the wing defence.
Gordon we've seen, of course, in previous internationals work as a circle defender, sometimes at keeper. And although not one of the taller players in the team, the standing jump of these Jamaican girls would make your green and gold eyes absolutely green. Penalty now set. Jamaica in possession. Just under 3.5 minutes until the break. They use the air, but Ellen sees it well, times the jump well, and holds it up momentarily. Forbes with the backline throw-in.
And that's what Australia, I suppose, through coach Jill McIntosh would want to do, is shut down the vision into Carla Williams, progressing down court.
Won the difference, and that is with Carla Williams shooting at 6%. Jamaica with the centre had the chance to equalise. Australia has dominated so far in this first quarter. Went to 4-0 start before Jamaica scored. And now Jamaica equalised. So that is the first time in the match we've seen the balance of power equalise. Australia now reply with the centre. The noise deafening from the full house here for this Day 7 encounter, a crucial one, perhaps the most crucial to date in the event. New Zealand had their dose yesterday against England, and although perhaps a closer margin than we anticipated, came through it well. Australia came through their match against South Africa, taking it by 27, although just 9 up at half-time. Showed they didn't have things all their own way as Jamaica go again to Williams. And she equalises. We've got a goal-for-goal contest on our hands. And don't the crowd love her? She's the darling of the Sunshine Girls.
A wild
Too
pass
much
there
on that one. Australia give it up.
Uncharacteristic there from Rebecca Sanders into Richardson in the pocket. Rarely see that happen in the Australian forward line.
Contact call against Sanders, who hasn't dominated yet in this match. Richardson doing most of the feeding.
Normally Rebecca Sanders in at centre for the Australian League here. The Adelaide Thunderbirds has moved into the role of wing attacker. We've mentioned probably earlier in lots of commentaries that Natasha Chocolate has been picked in that wing attack role.
Williams lines up the penalty. No, it'll be Forbes that takes us. This is for the lead. And she's gone to the dominant shooter, and Williams does the business. Jamaica takes the lead for the first time in this match, seconds out from the first break. And the centre to follow. This for a 2-goal buffer going to the bench.
Pressure.
Good pressure from the Australian defenders. They forced the error, and now Australia, 42 seconds on the clock, must know they've got to work it down and go to goal. The cards will be up on the sideline. They know it's under a minute.
Not convincing from the Australians coming out of defence.
No, but let's face it, Jamaica will also be knowing, and they'll throw everybody into this pathway down the court. Australia, no easy path to the circle. Shooters are frustrated. 18 seconds. They need to go up. They've done it. Australia have equalised with seconds on the clock, and now it'll be a battle of holding up the centre. Richardson, I was going to say, won't want to fire it through unless they can go straight into the circle. They'll have wasted the centre.
A quick pass.
So we've got a discrepancy with the clock. Ours has run down to, and that is full time. Australia have not been able to use the centre. That can be costly at this level of netball. But what a match. The world number 1 and the world number 4 go to the first break, locked at 10 apiece.
Jamaica continued to push Australia with both teams level pegging in the second quarter. Unforced errors were Australia's downfall, and halfway through the quarter, Jill McIntosh decided to make a change in the forward line, with Sinna Neal replacing Catherine Cox. We rejoin the action after the timeout.
So the game's restarted. Australian possession. Schultz. So what a revamped lineup. Australia starting the game with Cox, McMahon, Sanders and Richardson. Have had 2 of those 4 players removed. Sinna Neal now replacing Kat Cox, and the mid-court rejig. So Jill McIntosh hasn't quite found the 7 yet.
No, taking a while to settle down the starting lineup for Australia, as we see Chocolate right into the hands of Evering.
Well read by Everingham, who's had a handy game back in the circle. Australia work the corner. The contact call goes against Everingham.
And that'll be a strength of Sina Neal, her height and her body build as such against Evering.
And compared to the other players, she's less known. We know that Australia toured Jamaica early this year, and that serviced Australia well. They suffered a 3-goal defeat at the hands of the Jamaican squad earlier this year, which is exactly what they needed to be reminded how hard it will be taking on the host nation at these 11th World Championships. And of course, Australia has also been in Barbados coming into this event for pre-championship preparation. They played both the Australian Institute of Sport with some of the squad players featured, Janie Olchwager, Bianca Chatfield, Alex Hodge, part of that group, and they're the next in line to this Australian team. And some games against Barbados to prepare them for the style of play. And that's what I meant before. Australia still persisting with the, I think that'll come off, but it's a very different lineup. This forward line has not been tested in a match of this pressure. Albeit they were exposed earlier this year, this is for a World Championship. And that little misunderstanding reminds you it's a very new look side. As that rings in for Jamaica, they're back in the lead. Forbes with her second only shot of the match. You've got to love the percentage.
If not the volume. And the style too, the second one as well. Lifted the crowd off their seats.
Just get the feeling Australia is feeling the pressure, and Jamaica is enjoying the outing, and why not? A full house there for them. And no doubt the support of many other nations here who quite naturally want to see the top dog stumble.
New Zealand wouldn't be one of them, do you think?
Well, New Zealand are in the comfortable position of sitting back and watching to see who their opponent will be in the semi-final. New Zealand, having defeated England, will play the loser of this match. As it goes over the top to Williams. Yeah, regular monotony. Ella slaps her hands together. A 2-goal lead for Jamaica. Danger times for Australia. The crowd is revving up the Sunshine Girls. Williams goes to the post. That's 4 straight for Jamaica. And the lead is 3. The world champions are on the back foot. And now the Australian skipper comes to the sideline for a timely timeout.
The blackout.
We see black. 5 minutes out from half-time. Play has resumed. Jamaica 3 goals up. And just when they were looking like they might move on with it, and Australia was in all sorts of trouble, blackout stopped play for close to 5 minutes. And reportedly, it's the 3rd time today they've suffered a blackout problem at the venue. So if anything, Mon, you would have to consider it may even do Australia a favour.
Yeah, time for Australia to settle. There was a run there. 3 very quick goals from Jamaica, and Australia not convincing in the forward line as Sina Neal came on, having to work in with McMahon. Currently the scoreline has Jamaica at 18 and Australia at 15, but the correct score is 18-16.
Just to recap, Australia the better to start this match, went to a 4-0 lead, but it was locked at 10 apiece by the end of the first quarter. The second quarter has seemed to have taken an eternity. Neal has come on to replace Cox. Chocolate moved on to wing attack with Sanders to the middle. So Australia have really shuffled the pack. Won the difference. 3.5 minutes remaining until half-time. And Jamaica work it down. Looking to re-establish a lead they had moments ago.
Oh, set up again. Look at Carla Williams, has done that for most of the game.
Great umpiring. Good pressure then from Ellis. Didn't deserve a contact. Williams not able to land it, had to back play it. Umpire screaming it's not her whistle. There's a lot of noise in the stadium. And you can see the 2-court configuration. It's had another game on. See behind being played concurrently with one. It will be a 1-court configuration for the final series with the seating adjusted. 2 goals the difference. Jamaica have control. Good attempt there, Lizzie Ellis, getting the height on that jump to Carla Williams' lob. Very difficult for players to have the game stopped through the power failure. Mind you, in 79, dinosaurs roamed. In Trinidad, this event was hosted, and as part of that team, I know we sat on a dressing room floor for something like 4 hours on a concrete floor to wait for a decision on whether play would continue in a rain-affected time slot with about 15 minutes notice that you'll start soon. So it happens, and players need to be prepared. Oh, good attempt there. Well, the competitor she is, she slaps her hands. She would have liked to pull it in, not put it over the side. Here comes an opportunity for the Aussie girls. Working the far sideline. Sanders in the corner. Oh, pass, Sinanil. Well taken by Sharon McMahon. 19-18. Jamaica lead by 1. So Australia has come back the better of the two after the stoppage. Quick hands around the circle. Sinanil steadies. Difficulty here is that it's quite a newly established combination and they need time to settle. It's been a disjointed quarter. Australia have levelled. Just over a minute out from half-time. Australia have levelled. Jamaica have dominated until the stoppage. We're back in a goal-for-goal situation. And Williams changes all of that. It's back by 1 to Jamaica. Bronwyn Roberts, the Australian manager, with the stopwatch, letting the team know there's less than a minute to go. Australia having to use defence, then moving it back play. Jamaica quite disciplined in a one-on-one defence and pressuring the pass. More direct there from Australia using the top of the circle. McMahon coming through, taking it solidly. And she levels for Australia. It's 20 apiece. So these two teams went to the first break 10 apiece. Will anything separate them at half-time? Jamaica with the chance. Enough time to put a goal up. Ellis is out. And Williams makes her pay. She's lifted from 50-something% in the first quarter to 79% now. That's what I'm surprised about, Annie. When Ellis has the front position on Carla Williams, Harvey Williams isn't mindful that there's the drop on the goal line. I think Jamaica may have done their homework because they're using her as a decoy, taking her away where she can be useful. It's half-time, and 1 goal separates these two netball giants. It's Jamaica in the lead. They lead the world champs 21-20.
Just to give us a break from the tension of this tight match, let's catch up with the Australian netball team in lighter mode in short passes.
I'm a good cook, actually. I'm a terrible cleaner, so I like to cook if someone else can clean up after me. Cleaning up's not my forte either. My favourite dish is sweet potato and chicken risotto.
Stuffed squid with rice and pine nuts and currants. Reasonably happy with that. I think I'll make a mean pizza.
Well, actually, I'm still living at home, so I'm very lucky that my mum's a great cook. But if I had a best dish, I'd have to say it's a crusty chicken casserole.
I'm sure I cooked a cake some stage that was terrible and I threw out.
Oh, I'm not really much of a cook. I find most of the time I'm running out of the house to netball training and just leaving with Roger with the chopped up vegetables. I'm living with Natasha Chocolate, one of the other girls in the team, and she's a bit of a chef, so it's nice to have her around.
I can cook, yes. I actually like cooking, and desserts are my favourite. I'm very good at dessert.
My best dish is takeaway.
Restarts and Australia have the centre. Changes for Jamaica. Wolf comes on at wing attack. Bryan has moved to centre and Sharon Wild has left the game. So Jamaica have tightened up the midcourt as Australia drive it to the post and equalise with the opening play of the third quarter. 21 apiece. So no changes to the Australian lineup. Very different lineup from that which started the game. Jill McIntosh, just before the start of this quarter, brought the players in ever so close, spoke to them very quietly. what a time for her. She'll retire at the end of this event. High ball, beautiful snatch to keep it in play by Williams, but Australia are there to collect it. Sanders on to Schultz. Down court quickly, it's in the hands of McMahon, who back plays, and too much on it. Poor placement. Almost a panic gesture from Australia. Gives possession back to Jamaica. Contact call goes against Williams, who was enjoying the longest stride I've seen.
That was a stretch there from Carla Williams, but it was a reprieve for Australia as they went down court earlier.
Cut and drive comes from Chocolate, who must be in awe. Better known as a wing defence in Victorian netball. She is feeding the Australian shooters.
Good placement by Sanders. McMahon, 14 from 16. She's on 88%.
Australia have actually had 3 more attempts at goal than Jamaica, but have only just hit the front. They enjoyed the lead in the first moments of this match, but they've been trailing Jamaica since. So for the first time since the opening of the first quarter, Australia back with the lead. And it's Jamaica who need to settle.
But we don't need Harvey Williams out of the circle. Ellis left with there. Carla Williams. Nobody's particularly worried about Forbes at the moment.
Although she has been integral in distracting Harvey Williams from teaming up with Ellis on Williams as Jamaica equalise.
But I can't understand why you wouldn't release Harvey Williams now back into the circle to put pressure on, because that's where we need to shut the vision down.
Well, you can only think that she's been asked to put pressure on the feed, and that a lot of respect is being given to Forbes as a feeder, because even in that play, Williams was hard up on the ball and not retreating to play a 2-on-1 in the circle. Jamaica, level with the world champions, need this win to come in top of Pool A. Williams opens up easily on the front part. That front position held, and she takes Jamaica to the front. Australia with the centre. Possession from the centre is so important in a game such as this one. It gives you the chance to score. McMahon steadies, fakes out Evering.
Fairly static movement from the Australian forward liners. They keep possession and keep the patience.
Well, it's running with the centre now. Both teams scoring from their centre. So the pressure, if anything, on the defenders to create the turnover as Williams nets another. So 20 seconds for Jamaica. She's now shooting at 81%. Jamaica the more accurate, and it's largely Williams. Forbes has only put up 2 shots. Back play to McMahon, who knows centimetre perfect where that base is. Beautifully balanced on the baseline, Sherelle McMahon. And she's got the wealth of shooting responsibility, so big pressure on Sherelle McMahon's shoulders, the young student from Victoria. She's put up 16 of Australia's goals. Cox, before she left the court, had put up 5. And Sin O'Neill is on 3 from 6 at 50% and hasn't scored to date in this quarter. So McMahon running the show in goals for Australia is invaluable. And as we've seen previously in the match, a little too much assumed in the Australian forward line, and it's put out of court.
I wonder how many times they've gone through the drill of placement into the pocket, and perhaps the expectation that it is fluency for the Australians to have the spaces wide open has been shut down by Jamaica.
Mon, what's your rating on the physical nature of this game? Jamaica have been pretty disciplined.
They've been very disciplined, and I would suggest that it's due to the umpires in the early stages of the first quarter. I think they were just getting their reins intact, saying, we've got the whistle, we'll pull you off, and there's going to be no pull-out here from this particular bash and crash side that I keep calling them, because we've seen what they're capable of doing.
I don't know that umpiring in itself has been enough to contain them in previous matches. I think credit must be given to Maureen Hall, I think, who said the only way to win this is to keep some discipline out there. Don't change your natural style of game, but let's make sure we're not giving it up through the whistle unnecessarily. And whilst there still is that
physicality in that they're unexpected and unpredictable, and arms and legs will come out at any time just by the nature of how they play the game. There isn't that setting up a contact that we've seen before as Jamaica net another and level it at 25 apiece. Forbes. Great cheers for the Jamaican goal attack, who's put up only 3 goals but made no mistakes in doing so. Oh, hard call then. That was a tangle of bodies under the post as both players turned to take the ball, and Jamaica back with the lead. They've scored the last 2 on the trot.
I don't mean this to be disrespectful whatsoever to the Jamaicans, but it appears that their culture is changing with the understanding of the game of netball, and I would suggest perhaps a few years ago if the Jamaicans wanted to play that day, they would play. And if they didn't want to play, they weren't there.
I think they really are big-time players, and they love the feel the crowd gives them. They love to play it as entertainment, and the crowd really is part of that whole package for them, whereas Australia tends to shut it out a little more and just keep the mind on the game. I think Jamaica is fueled by the music and the noise and the colour of the crowd. Servicing them well at the moment, the world number 4 running with the world champs. 26 apiece. And look at those statistics. Nothing much separating them. 36 attempts for Australia and only to 31 for Jamaica. So the accuracy assisting Jamaica at the moment.
Russia Chocolate goes into attack, and you can see that Georgia Gordon just flipped her.
Oh, what a wasted opportunity for Australia, and almost an apology from the umpire as she notes the obstruction at the edge of the circle. They're back where they were moments ago. And through the obstruction, McMahon shoots her 17th goal. Australia back in the lead. Oh, breaking call against Chocolate. Gives up possession. Australia handed back to Jamaica in the softest of ways. That was the chance to make a break and take it out to 2, and whilst an error is an error, sometimes they just hurt you more than others.
And particularly that type of error to it. This
Harvey Williams now back in the circle, is teaming up with Ellis a little more. She's mixing it up now. Out when Forbes is on the circle edge, she's pressuring the feed. Then she's retreating to team up on Williams. And now she's out of play as Forbes attempts her 4th goal of the match. 4 from 4. Simone Forbes playing where we're so used to seeing Connie Francis play for Jamaica. Connie celebrated her 39th birthday this week in Jamaica. At home, Williams with the long stretch regathers, and that left hand stumbles on that attempt. 27 apiece, and Harvey Williams with the big outlet ball for Australia. McMahon, her work rate incredible in this game. Chocolate weaving and connecting with Sanders for Jamaica. Too good in defence, come flying out at it.
Wrong option, Annie. I think it was to Sinanil's disadvantage. There's the option on the right-hand side. Chocolate puts it to the left-hand side. The defender was right there.
Can't quite hear what the original call was, but I suspect that Gordon might have had her back foot in the circle as she offered support play there from the good work of Evering. Makes no difference now. It's become a goal for Australia as Sinanil takes them to a 1-goal lead. Just under 6 minutes remaining until 3-quarter time. They were locked at 10 apiece at the end of the first quarter. 1 goal separated them at half-time. And now Australia has ever so slightly re-established the lead. That would have been for 2. Contact goes against Chocolate. Jamaica with incredible speed at the end of their move. Speed you see come out of nowhere. And wonderful elevation.
And I'm suggesting that's where they're holding Sinanil up, while Sinner has the height and she has got the body good. She hasn't got the ground speed or leg speed to move the Jamaican defence.
Well, there's that fine line between what you think is protecting the space for yourself and then the deception that the speed of Jamaicans can offer when they come through at the end onto the ball. This is to equalise, and Williams is up for the task. Her 24th goal of the match. She's shooting at 80%. McMahon has put up 17 and is shooting at 81%. Maureen Hall
with some fine-tuning being offered from the sideline for her girls. That's a beautiful ball. It caught Ellis on the body, and she didn't enjoy being beaten by that one. That was a magnificent feed into Jamaica's Carla Williams, one of the standouts at this event.
Australia looking somewhat rattled in the mid-court as they're trying to progress into the forward line.
This third quarter has been absorbing, a goal-for-goal contest. Indeed, the entire match exhausting. It's 29 apiece. Oh, wonderful steal from Sanders, who sagged back from the centre, didn't pressure the pass, was deceptive in working across the line. Let's hope she's rewarded. Goes against Evering.
Keep it in there.
Evering is on 23 penalties, by far the most penalised player on court in this match. And well done, Rebecca Sanders, as the 4-minute sign goes out to the Australian girls. 3.5 remaining. And Australia back in the lead. Sanders holds it up. Almost footwork from Neil then. That was so subtle. But let's forget about it as she flaps her hands together. She now looks more settled. Sina Neal has worked hard in the last part of this quarter. She's put up 8 shots in total. 5 of those coming just in the last 5 minutes.
Easy access there to Carla Williams. Nothing defensively in front of her. Harvey Williams caught behind her.
And she pegs it back. Australia now by 1. The centre. Would have given them 2 had they finished, but Jamaica just will not lay down. This game is anybody's. Beautiful take there by Brian, who, if I'd tried, would have dislocated my shoulder. It was a beautiful haul in.
Well, you're a dinosaur, don't you?
Forget us. Look at these wonderful athletes. Both teams have shifted the lineup throughout this match. That one through Jamaican hands. They were looking to re-establish the lead. It's 31 apiece. Couple of minutes on the clock.
What Jamaica does, you think you have the space, but their speed on the ground is so quick.
Cross court go the Australians. As Evering thinks about the intercept. Oh, that was a nice hold by Neal, who was very stable then and timed the back move from the hold nicely. She just caught Evering. Oh, it's Peterson that's put out. She was nowhere in that position that I saw. She was on the other side. We'll debate that one later. Australia re-established the lead. The centre. This would give them a 2-goal buffer with 1.5 minutes until 3/4 time. Wonderful timing. McMahon opens beautifully to the feed. And comes through with the goal. She's pumped Sherelle McMahon. It's Australia by 2.
Need to continue this form as they head into the 4th.
Crowd a little quieter in the last few minutes. I don't know whether they're saving themselves for the final quarter. That's a little daunting. They've been very vocal early on. Just the balance of power has shifted ever so slightly in the last 5 minutes, and Australia now looking steadier. There's more belief out there in those bottle green uniforms. The support play good now. Schultz helping Chocolate and Sanders cut and drive the circle. Neal has found her timing and her accuracy. That's her 10th goal of the match. She didn't start, but she's warm to the task now. It's Australia by 3, a handy lead as they go to the bench at 3/4 time. They need to protect it. Time enough for another. I was willing her to go to the post then. She backed herself on the last few, and it was with great dividends for Australia. 1 too many passes, and now they've given it up. 10 seconds on the clock. Evering taking a time to set the penalty. They know as much as they'd like to rush, the umpire will take it from them if it's not set. And they have used up time, and they've caught our clock with a few seconds wanting. So Australia putting in great work after a blackout to come back and go to the break with a 3-goal lead. They lead Jamaica 34-31. quarter underway. Jamaica with the centre. Australia have the lead by 3. And Maureen Hall has reverted to the starting 7. So having made mid-court changes at half-time, with Wolf entering the game and Bryan moving to centre, we're back to where they started. Nadine Bryan at wing attack and Sharon Wiles back at centre. So Jamaica will finish this match the way they started, as Williams brings them in closer range. Sinanil remains in the circle with McMahon. Remembering Pop started the game for Australia. McMahon steps it in. Great shot. That's her 20th of the match. And she gives Australia back that 3-goal lead. And I know the Australian fans would be quite happy for the match to run goal for goal now. It's protecting that lead. In fact, expanding it. That will be their mission, knowing that the crowd will come at them in this final period. And there's a turnover for Jamaica.
Every pass imperative as the Australians move down court. McMahon trying a bounce pass. And the call, Eddie?
Can't see the call. Oh, it's got to the keeper, Evering, out of play. So it was nothing to do with the intercept play. It was beyond that, and I think just out of our vision. You could hear the displeasure voiced by the crowd. And Sinanil keeps that 3-goal buffer operating for Australia. Jamaica need to come out of nowhere to create some opportunities, and Liz Ellis denies them running in touch. Australia really need to steady on this one, because to take it to 4 with the centre to follow would be a crucial break at this stage of the match. Much at stake for both teams.
Mann with the space, moving in closer to the post. Australia with 50 attempts to post now, 37 successful.
And it's Australia by 4 with the centre. A break will advance it. The break coming from the Jamaican skipper, Peterson. So it moves forward to the transverse line, quickly to the circle edge. The speed perhaps not the best option then.
Long arms there of Peterson, the Jamaican captain in at goal defence.
Peterson, one of the most experienced. Spends plenty of time offshore playing basketball. Was often renowned for her flamboyant shoes, but playing it pretty straight day 7 at the 11th World Netball Championships. It's the business of winning netball that's on her mind. Shooting accuracy resting with Jamaica largely through the hands of Carla Williams.
So that's where Harvey Williams should be, at the post on the other side there of Carla Williams, supporting Liz Ellis.
Yeah, that was a great hold from Williams, and a good ball was not going to find its way into Ellis's hands. The lead now 5. Australia starting this final quarter well. They've scored the last 3 on the trot. Chocolate, patient on the edge of the circle. Access comes via a penalty. And it's offloaded. It'll be reset. Both players now out. Neal blocking rebounding position then, and also making herself available for the pass off. Not that it was needed.
No, it was so close. Let's not tempt fate.
6 the difference. The world champions have worked hard through this match and now have a comfort zone of 6 goals.
Finally, Australia look to have established a lead they can defend. Through the middle part of the 4th quarter, Jamaica challenge again, but never get closer than 3. We rejoin the match for the final minute.
5.5 minutes remaining. Time enough for Jamaica to do it. Australia needs to be steady, but to keep attacking. They don't need to be so steady that they play hesitant netball from the back foot. Keep finding the post.
Well done. Great pass.
Sinanil knew she had a one-on-one situation for McMahon, and if she was patient enough, McMahon's speed would find the space. It's back to 5. Jamaica with the centre. Less than 5 on the clock. Day 7. This is a Pool A clash between the top 2 teams in the pool. The hardest of the pool. Ellis just looks so disappointed when a goal goes past her.
Well, she came out for the run at that as Australia turn it over and lose it on the sideline, and it's not something we wish to see as the clock ticks down. 4.5 minutes remaining.
Well, we wondered earlier in the match when a blackout disrupted play, and our sources told us it was flipped out of a switch. We wondered whether the Australians had sent someone from the bench to do it because they really needed to steady at that time. If it's a blackout now, my money's on a Jamaican. Williams past the long reach of Ellis, brings Jamaica to 43 the difference. Composure is called for by the Australian skipper. The hand goes up.
Well done.
Wonderful pressure from Sherelle McMahon, who was hunting down on the transverse line. I don't even know if the umpire had vision of that then. She turned to run to the circle.
It appeared to be short from where we're sitting here, which is many miles away from court. But
we'll give her credit for putting herself in a position to create the opportunity. The workload from Sherelle McMahon has been magnificent. And that, the best offload of the game. Earlier they'd forced them when they weren't on. That one was beautiful. It's back to 4.
Australian supporters fighting nails.
You can't speak highly enough of the impact of that kind of intercept to create the space again for Australia. And look at them, the fast break play. They're finishing at their best, the Aussies. Reminding the crowd that they're here to retain a world title. 5 the difference, Australia lead.
It's taken 57 minutes virtually to breathe a little bit easier.
I'm still not breathing. I'm going to wait to take that breath. In 3 minutes, I'll take it. Jamaica can come out of anywhere, and as you and I know, 3 minutes is enough to break that lead. That's one. That's one. Australia look relaxed. I think they're confident that they'll do enough from their own possession from the centre. Very unusual for Macca to crack a smile before the end of the game.
And Lisa Behag and Bronwyn Roberts looks a little bit frazzled as the team manager.
Well, she's been manning the stopwatch, sometimes in the dark. Take your 3 seconds, Sherelle, to steady on this one. We don't mind how you use it up. And I think that will do it. 46 plays 41 with 2 minutes on the clock. I'd back them from here. Aussie girls have had to work tremendously hard for this result and have not at moments looked convincing, but they have been true to the task. And their discipline has put them in good stead. Changes to the lineup, Cox and Richardson starting the game. Chocolate and Neal finishing in attack for Australia. 1.5 minutes. It's 4 the difference. Turnover to Jamaica. It'll change the scoreline possibly, but I don't believe the outcome. But cross those fingers just in case, you Aussie supporters.
Oh, there it was. Liz Ellis.
It goes Jamaica's way. Very clear signals from the umpires. Justine Bourne and Bronwyn Spear with good control in a crucial match. Williams takes it to 43.
Carla Williams, yes.
Jamaican centre. The crowd breathes their last breath as Lizzie Ellis thwarts the Jamaican attack.
Had the courage to come out of defence, kept her head up and ran the ball down.
Backed herself, and a great decision it was from the Australian vice-captain. She's had the toughest task on court for many reasons. Williams has been the target, and she shot at 84%. She's been responsible for 36 of Jamaica's 43 goals. And while she will applaud the pressure of her teammates in front of her, much of the pressure has rested on her shoulders. 20 seconds on the clock. It's Australia by 4. They will take this match, and they will retain their place top of Pool A. That sets them up for a semi-final against England Sunday morning. That match coming to you live early Sunday morning. Please join us for that. Jamaica, as the clock ticks down, have possession but will not take the point. And it's a disappointed full house in Kingston, Jamaica. But on Australian soil, the cheers will be raised. The world champions take this match, day 7, against the world number 4. It's Australia 48, Jamaica 43.
With the crowd very appreciative, and the Jamaican crowd applauding both the Australian and Jamaican sides.
Well, magnificent win for Australia. They've set themselves up for a place in that semi-final against England. Plenty of smiles in the camp, particularly on the faces of the young rookies. Janet Boswell is courtside with the Australian coach Jill McIntosh.
And you made some significant changes at quarter time.
Yeah, it just wasn't working, and Kat Cox was having a little bit of trouble getting his space in the circle. So, you know, we go to our bench, and I've said all along that you need 12 players, and when you can go to the bench and bring on a Sinanil and bring on a Tash Chocolate, our 2 rookies, and what a wonderful job they did.
Fantastic job. Now, at 8 minutes 23 into the second quarter, we had a blackout. At that stage, we were 3 goals down. There was a run against us. There was a time call. The stadium went dark. Did that work in our favour?
I think it did. The Jamaicans were having a run, so I think it helped us no end. But we talked about the blackouts and the what-ifs. We had a blackout, so everyone was very calm and there was no problems at all with it.
Kat, congratulations. A fantastic win, and on your birthday.
Yes, I asked for one birthday present today, and that was it. So, you know, it was an amazing effort. It was really tough conditions out there, and to end up with a 5-goal win was really pleasing for our team.
The Aussies, for the first time, I believe, in this tournament, put 4 quarters of fantastic quality netball together.
Yeah, it was really tight out there. You know, it wasn't free-flowing, but it was just tough netball, and the Jamaicans are a really good defensive unit. So we just had to be patient, and I think in the first half we made quite a few errors because of our impatience, but once the lights went out, we composed ourselves and I think went on from there.
The rookies that Jill brought into the match, Chocolate and Neil, I think they've only got a couple of caps between them. I certainly think they did their country proud this evening.
They certainly did, and I think that's testament to the Commonwealth Bank Trophy back home. You know, players who are young at international level can come on in conditions like this and excel, and they should be really proud of their performance tonight because they contributed to our win.
Tomorrow, Vicky Wilson and I will bring you the Australian semi-final against England live at 7:26 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our special guest will be Jane Olschwager, who will give us all the inside info she's gleaned from training camp with the Aussies in Barbados. Jane will also join us as we bring you the final live on Monday morning, 9:26 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll bring you all the action and excitement as hopefully Australia defends the title in what's sure to be one of the highlights of the year in sport. I look forward to your company then. I'm Anne Sargent. Bye for now.
They've swapped the bus.
I wasn't sure when the final whistle went because there was so much noise, and I remember looking at the New Zealanders and their heads were down, and all of a sudden I saw Joyce just running out and just the whole crowd going wild.
Australia's World Championship. Australia wins the World Netball Championship for the 7th time.
Welcome to ABC Sports coverage of the 11th World Netball Championship and Australia's semi-final against England. The world champion Aussies are on track to defend their title, having only ever lost to England once. With me to analyse Australia's performance is Vicky Wilson, veteran of 3 successful World Championship campaigns. Vic, welcome once again. Australia's performance against Barbados, pretty convincing.
Very comfortable, and also an opportunity for them to rest Sherelle McMahon and Catherine Harvey-Williams.
Let's hope their legs work today. Our other special guest, Jane Olschwager, a member of the Australian team and away recently with the girls in Barbados. Jane, you were part of the Australian team in South Africa earlier this year, but part of the training squad in Barbados.
That's right. I've actually only just got back a few days ago from over in Barbados, and the girls are looking very fit and ready to go to take on the number 1 team.
We look forward to your comments throughout the game. Let's have a look at how the 2 teams will start. For Australia, Jill McIntosh has elected to run with a lineup that finished the second half of the match against Jamaica. Sinanil gets the nod, the rookie of the team in goals, with shooting sensation Sherelle McMahon. Chocolate and Sanders will work the middle and across the back line. That familiar combination, the Australian defensive unit of Peter Scholes, Catherine Harvey-Williams, the skipper at goal defence, and Lizzie Ellis at goalkeeper. For England, Astrel and Australian Abby Peer in goals at goal attack, and Murphy and Aspinall will run them with what Murphy is the English captain, Clark, Newton and McCloma, the back line for England.
The championship is, for me, taken a long time, but I just cherish being part of the team. It's an absolute honour to represent my country, and I know that every time I get out there, I'll give 120% similar to win the gold medal for Australia.
Anthem for England has just finished, and the reception from the English fans, as you would expect, in strong support of their national team, and now the Australian anthem. And there it was after a slight stutter, the Australian anthem. So we've had it all from Jamaica, blackouts against Jamaica, and a bit of a hiccup with the anthem, but that won't stop the girls. They're a well-drilled unit. And Vic Sinner-Neal and Natasha Chocolate, the rookies of the team, the babies, establishing a place in the starting seven. Are you surprised that Jill didn't return to Kat Cox and Richardson?
Yes, I am, Annie. I thought she might have gone back to that original line. Catherine is so strong in the goals, but full credit to Sinner for coming on in that Jamaican match. It took her a while to settle, but towards the latter part of that game, she really did establish a good combination there with McMahon. Also, Chocolate did a good job when she came on. A little bit wayward in some of the feeds, but again, she hung in there towards the end of that match.
We're about to get underway. Australia with the first centre pass. This is the semi-final from the 11th World Netball Championships. The winner to find their place into the final. So a crucial match for the green and gold. And they're back in the familiar strip, the blaze of gold, as a quick fast break play. Quick hands from Sanders to McMahon. Finds them with the first shooting opportunity of the match. And an uncharacteristic miss. First up from Sherelle McMahon. Sinner-Neal looking to address that. In 39 meetings, England has only ever once defeated Australia. As Sinner-Neal puts Australia on the map, and the crowd, I think, will be torn between the two countries. We should see a more even distribution of loyalties, as Alex Astor puts in a wonderful shot to open the ledger for England.
There'll be a great confidence booster for Alex. She's a little bit nervous at times on the shot.
Well, the shooting accuracy from England sits closer to the 70% mark. For Australia, it's been up in the 80s. Sinner-Neal 80% so far in the championship, and Sherelle McMahon at 85%. Newton and McCloma, the back line for England as they crash through Harvey Williams, who's caught backpedaling to the circle. England with some fast break play of their own, as Abby Tear, well known to Australian audiences, former Melbourne Kestrel, left-handed shooter, goes to the post and takes England to a one-goal lead with the centre to follow. Murphy, the skipper, working at wing attack, will do most of the feeding work for England. Cross-court play. And Jane, England quite cosmopolitan in the coaching influence that have run past their team. A couple of Kiwis in charge at the moment.
Yeah, it probably was some Australian coaches, I believe, but now running with the Kiwi lineup. So I think that helped them a lot during the previous series a month ago, and now obviously coming to the board quite well against this Australian team.
Australian coaches have had their hand in England's development. Margaret Caldo, a Julie Hornwick. Waitamanu and Lynn Gunson hold the coaching reins for England. Lynn Gunson, the head coach. Tamanu, the assistant coach. Leslie Dixon, their manager. And news this week, Margaret Caldo will replace Waitamanu as the national performance manager in England. I think you take up that post towards the end of the year. So she'll finish her Test rules commitment as Australia creates a turnover.
Well, the keepers are doing all the damage, Annie. Ellis for Australia and McCloma for England. They're working overtime on the shooters.
And the Jamaican crowd keen to see England cause the upset. That's what happens when you're 8 times world champion. Everybody's looking for the change. 3-1 England lead early in this match. The last time these two met was at Commonwealth Games in Manchester. The difference then 11 goals. 49-38. Australia got out to a good start in that. They were 12-6 at the end of the first quarter. That was Delaney and Southby in goals for Australia. So how quickly line-ups change as the Australian defensive unit creates another opportunity. Chocolate uses the speed to drive the circle. Oh, great speed though from McCloma.
Chocolate just picked the wrong side to deliver the pass.
And again, almost a near intercept from England as Australia float one cross-court to McMahon. Great stretch from McCloma over the shot. But McMahon up to it. And that's her first goal of the match. Australia trail by 1. 4 minutes into the match. The winner of this game to face the winner of New Zealand versus Jamaica. And I wouldn't like to put too much money on the outcome of that one, Vic.
Oh, it's going to be a tough battle. The Jamaicans will have the home crowd advantage, but New Zealand, they've been on fire in this World Championship.
Well, that's their worry. At the moment, Australia determined to make their way into that final and await their opponent. This is the first of the semis to be played. It's England 4, Australia 2, as the Australian forward line takes a little time to settle. Chocolate, was that Sanders, sorry, misreading the timing of McMahon. And England with another opportunity. Clark at wing defence for England, the 19-year-old. One of the rookies on court for the world number 3.
She's done a remarkable job to force her way into the England starting line. When they toured Jamaica in May, she was really about their 14th, 15th player. So very aggressive young player with heaps of speed.
She's perhaps one of the England players in particular that's benefited under the tutelage of Waitamanu, former New Zealand captain and defender. Lynn Gunson, former New Zealand captain and quarter, so they've pretty well got things covered. And there's the Jamaican crowd trying to wind things up. Still haven't worked out what to call those yellow things. Have I got a term for it? I know.
Slammers or something like that.
Nice ball over the top of Ellis to Astle, who's a bit shaky on the shot but follows the rebound nicely. So England with the mix between Astle's holding style of play and Abby Pear's movement at the front. They lead by 2. The world champs, the slower of the two to settle into this game. Harvey Williams down in attack. O'Neill swings it across, steps it on to find McMahon. Newton calls time. She put a strong jump over that shot. Not sure whether she's turned the ankle on landing. Both feet strapped. Let's take another look. She backpedals and it probably just comes off the side of the foot of McMahon as she retreats. Has a big swipe at the ball there.
I think she might have landed on McMahon's foot.
So the right ankle turning. McMahon unperturbed. The England medical staff attend their goal defence. Good crowd. Capacity stadium of about 3,000. As Newton just asked for the floor to be wiped. Beautiful athletes, Newton and McCloma.
Well, the Jamaican crowd, I think, would have been perhaps wishing that England might have brought on Janet Colburn, one of their own players who's now playing for England.
And you thought she might have been in the starting line?
natural flamboyant style of the Jamaican play. She has terrific elevation. Perhaps she just lacks a little bit in height.
Scoring opportunities fairly even at this stage. 6 Australia. That was England's 7th, and they made good use of it. The lead still 2. Australia in chase position. McMahon working off the line. Her workload against Jamaica was incredible, and again we see her integral in the Australian forward line. Neal just having difficulty finding the timing of when to slot in.
She's getting caught quite high up on that transverse line. We really haven't seen a one-on-one situation in the circle with Neal working the baseline.
Janie, you'd have played a lot of netball with Sinner. What are her strengths to play alongside?
She's definitely a strong player, Anne, who I guess you could say uses the body to her advantage. She works the ball around quite well and easy to read when you're playing with her as well.
Bit of a space maker to play alongside.
Definitely, I think that's what's happening with Sherelle as well. There's Sinner's actually running out of the circle with Sherelle, clearing out and coming back in.
The English Senator are having to work overtime. There's not quite enough movement in the circle off Abby Tier. We've got Alex Askell on hold. Tier needs to do the work out in front.
They're both players on hold, and it's played right into Australian hands. Well read by Liz Ellis. And the arm of Harvey Williams opens up as Australia play it down court. Neal swings it across. They're looking for McMahon, who's on strong hold and under pressure from Newton.
A terrific footwork by Newton. Then she was coming around the right-hand side and the left-hand side. Really didn't give much of an option for the feed.
McMahon under pressure. She gets in the penalty.
English defenders are quite deceiving with their arms and just how big a reach they actually have. It's quite phenomenal.
The span is incredible, and they have a great jump as well.
Sometimes I don't think the umpires umpire that call very well. They don't make that decision. Their reach is just amazing.
Well, Australia has levelled at 6 apiece. Taken them halfway through this first quarter to find their rhythm. And they hit the front. Sherelle McMahon takes Australia to a 1-goal lead in a match crucial for both teams. They've been sitting their time out through the qualifying rounds, the quarterfinals yesterday. England with a narrow win over South Africa. Just 3 the difference to find their way into the semi-final. Australia with a solid win against Barbados. But days of almost monotonous routine building towards these matches that are crucial and so different from the earlier ones in the round. As Australia looks down court, trying to make it a 2-goal margin. Umpires for this match, Bronwyn Spear and Justine Bourne. Of course, for those of you waiting to see Australian umpires in this international pool, it's neutral umpiring, so you won't see them placed. It's Stacey Campton, Michelle Fippard, Sharon Kelly, Deb Farrelly doing us proud. And great to see so many Aussie umpires in the international pool. There's the bench. Richardson in the middle, Eloise Southey to the right, and Ali Broadbent to the left.
Let's see now what Abby Tier does. That's much better off her. She needs to come out and operate off the front. She's running like a magnet, actually, back towards Harvey. She's got to keep Harvey occupied and away from Askell.
Well, they need to split up the Australian defenders. They work well as a unit. And that's better play. Split the Australian defence quite wide. Askell holding in good position, and a nice feed to her gives a close range shot. England back to within 1. 8-7 Australian lead. Less than 5 remaining until the first break. Into the corner. Aspinall puts it into the hands of Harvey Williams, but a contact ball gives relief. It's against Peter Scholes. The Australian wing defence stands out.
Good work then by Ellis. She covered the back space. Harvey took Askell on at the front.
Long outlet ball, looking to connect with Natasha Chocolate. Australia regroup as the penalty is set. Now Chocolate onto the ball, drives fire through, but it's a predictable play read well by England, and Murphy, the English captain, comes up with the intercept. What a brilliant contest. England New Zealand defeated England 60-41, but it took them a good part of the game to open up that margin, and we thought that was perhaps a more solid performance than we expected. But this is another level, and England in recent years have been able to produce this kind of game in the pressure matches.
We just haven't been able to sustain it right to the very end.
Oh, smart play by Australia. I'm not sure about that last offload. Neil in a great position to put that to the post. All the hard work had been done, but she gives it to the more senior counterpart, and McMahon puts up her 5th shot of the match. Australia shooting at 82%. England's stats are a little down in the 60s. England holds it up, looking for the space. Comes through Newton. Oh, great pressure from Harvey Williams, who's playing a good one-on-one match on Abby Tier. So Australia looking to shut the feed down. Stop for access to Astle, and regarding Tier as one of those.
Well, Astle kept moving back towards the baseline. She had great position, but the movement allowed Alice to push her back on the baseline.
Sanders. McMahon. Australia back playing till the front thought. Defenders working hard in attack for the green and gold. Neil puts a hold on as the ball swings cross court, and it draws the penalty as McClomber has stood out. Gets across to guard, rebounding position, and Neil puts up her 5th shot of the match. The Australian shooters shooting at 5 apiece. And Australia, after a shaky start, have pushed the lead out to 3. Just under a minute and a half to the first break.
You can put that play down to Olivia Murphy. The quick double play onto Tier to set up Astle. Not a good shot from Astle. Really was a sitter she should have had.
Jane, as you watch on, can you see anything being put into play that was worked on in training camp?
There definitely are a few set plays that are coming out. I think they need to make sure that they come off a lot better than what they're doing at the moment, I think. But they just need to settle down a bit, Australia. They seem to be losing just with a few basic things. They're just losing the plot of it.
I think we saw shades of that against Jamaica, but it wasn't absolutely there yet. But I guess that's the process at World Championships. It's a slow, hard grind, and you aim to build the performance across the event. So we expect to see more again in this match, and hopefully the most complete performance for when it counts in the final. But some work to be done before that. Australia 12, England 7, in a match that could obviously go anyway if England can sustain this performance. Well, the Australians will be aware that only seconds remain, so they'll be looking for the long ball in the circle. Thank you, Catherine Harvey-Williams. And the contact call does not apparently go Australia's way. I was waiting to see if it was a penalty pass or shot, but the players are walking from the court. That was apparently a contact against McMahon. Harvey-Williams opens up that beautiful long ball, set everything up, and no contact called there by the umpire. We'll take another look.
It was a great challenge by Newt. She had front spot. The penalty would have gone against McMahon.
Let's take a look at the match statistics for the first quarter. Jane, anything you can glean from that?
Yeah, Alex Astle missed a few vital shots under the post there, which probably would have pushed up the percentage quite a bit. Penalties are quite high against McClomber. That seems to be the case with Sonia. She seems to attract a fair bit of the whistle.
It's one of those difficult scenarios, though, where the workload is also very high, so the amount of whistle you're likely to attract runs parallel with that. Astle shooting at 57%. In fact, their combined total is 58%. Australia shooting at 86%, and I guess, Vicky, that's one of the saving graces at the moment for Australia while they were settling their combinational play.
Absolutely. They rely a lot on McMahon going straight to the post, see Aspel taking that strong drive along the baseline. But English midcourt just working overtime to try and find the right spot to place the ball. It was good take by Aspel. Ellis does a lot of work over the shot, mixes it up. Again, we see the ball going to Karen Aspinall. Tier's got herself caught on the baseline. Terrific coverage then by Harvey. And we see Ellis going up with the opposite hand again. They love using that high ball into Aspel. It's just a matter of finding the right spot. She just moves off the hold just a little bit too soon.
She's a strong build, though, a strong physique, and on that earlier shot, you see how she does command the baseline. It was a very solid fashion. It's just the speed that's lacking. Wonderful take there from Natasha Chocolate. And you see Australia's athleticism on display, particularly through McMahon, the wide split. And after a shaky start, Australia settling beautifully. They lead by 5. Returning to the court for the second quarter, and Australia taking some time to settle. Vic, were you surprised that the nerves are out there early on?
I was, but I suppose you have to put it down to it's the first semi-final ever for Chocolate and for Neil and for the whole combination to get out there and really, I suppose, try and develop some timing and rhythm as it's coming down court.
We made the point against Jamaica that the Australian front line, a foursome that hadn't really played before under pressure, as Australia put up the first goal of the second quarter. And some changes for England in that first break. So Lynn Gunson not slow to pull the reins. Alex Aspel has left the court, and Abby Tier has moved back to goal shooter. Tracy Neville has come on at goal attack, the renowned sister of the Neville brothers, soccer stars in England, famous sporting family. As Australia, wants to play it on through McMahon, but the court play was not thinking of the same mind. Australia 13 lead, England 7. We just take another look. McMahon wanting to step it on and drive the post, but Sanders just into the top of the circle, needed to be in the pocket to support that move. I think really just caught by the speed of McMahon when she winds it up.
She is very fast, that's for sure. You have to be thinking along the same line she is.
And Jane, the moves for England, Aspel leading the court, opens up a more mobile shooting circle for England.
Definitely does. I mean, they lose a bit of the height from taking Aspel off the court, but I mean, if you get the goals in, then you don't need to get the rebounds, do you?
Remains to be seen. Australia coming out of the blocks, the better of the two from the first break, have quickly pushed the lead out to 7. That's perhaps the balance of power expected as Chocolate just does enough to dispose of the ball before hitting the floorboard. Australia push it out again, this time to 15. Lovely feed from England, and it's finished beautifully by Abby Tier. Tier on 4 from 6 is shooting at 67%. Neil tries to handle the high ball, but too much on it.
Coming out very high against Stephen Neal, so she needs to just hold back that lead, just wait a little bit longer until she gets the ball deeper in that circle.
Well, it's England in disarray early in the second quarter. In the first, it was Australia who was having trouble settling. On target now, though, in attack. England through the rebound, turn it down court. Schultz works over the feed. Australia playing a one-on-one. And they force the error. Great pressure from Australia. Neal goes to the post. And it comes back at her. And England is so strong under the post, Vicky, on the rebound.
McClomo, as we mentioned earlier, it's a terrific reach, but her elevation, she's just a wonderful athlete.
And just hear the crowd supporting this game a little more. The
picked up that Kiwi trait of passing the ball back to the defence or the attacking transverse line to reset with the wing defence and goal defence and to allow the mid-court to come again. Oh, McMahon.
The arm raised across her on the entire lead will put Newton out of play.
And Australia push it out to 16. So Australia have doubled England's score. They've put the foot down since coming on court at the end of the first quarter. Schultz stands out. A quick play of the penalty there from England. Well, Schultz replies well from being out of play, runs down the intercept, but just puts a foot into the offside area. Tracy Neville steps in. She must pass it. And Abby Tier opens easily on the baseline. The left-handed shooter pokes it at the post. Australian captain out of play, and Tracy Neville puts up her first shot of the match. Very skillful player, Tracy Neville. I thought over the last 12 months she really has stepped up another level. She's using her speed well, particularly when she's running out in that mid-court position. She's very versatile, where she can come back in and also running goals. McMahon's little step just to clear some room. Takes Australia to 17, and it's looking a little more comfortable for the reigning champions. World number 1 meets world number 3 in this, the first of the semi-finals for the 11th World Netball Championships. This match is coming to you live from Kingston, Jamaica. Oh, good pressure again by Chocolate. That's the second touch, deflection that she's had. A nice work and great example of Neville's speed on the baseline then. Not the shot to finish. Abby Tier does the work though, and she'll lift to be the dominant shooter in this pairing. Tier now with 5 goals from 8 attempts. Australia lead by 7. The feeders work it around on the edge for Australia. Wait for the drive from McMahon. Oh, that was a tough call. McClymber had terrific distance on that one. Again, the deception of how long her arm is. Australia by 8. And Neville just sitting behind Harvey. She really needed to do some work. Harvey's content to sit there. You really have to work the circles to lift Harvey's work rate. Australia find their way through to this semi-final, having finished top of Pool A. They then played quarter-final against Barbados. For England, they finished second in Pool B behind New Zealand. Had to play perhaps the toughest of the semi-finals against South Africa. Took that by 3. And it's all or nothing in this match. It's for a place in the finals. Australia pushing England right to the 3-second mark. Such is the defensive pressure. Jill McIntosh left of screen, and Lisa Behag to the right. Australian coach and assistant coach. Jill, of course, retiring at the end of this year. And Jamie, you've cracked the Aussie team, but are in a situation where you'd like to crack it again, and a change of coaching staff awaits you.
Yeah, it definitely does. I've worked under Norma Palmer before, obviously, down at the AIS for 2 years. And again, when we were just previously giving the Australian team some practice matches before they had the World Champs Comp, and working under her again. And I mean, Norma hasn't sort of decided whether she's going to take the position or not yet. Hasn't officially decided. But
okay, well, let's put it this way. She's been offered the position of national coach, and it's being fine-tuned, I think, the details of that appointment.
That's probably the best way of putting it, yes.
Of course, it was basically the institute line with the 3 squad players brought in to assist yourself, Bianca Chatfield and Alex Hodge.
That's right, yeah. We worked in with the AIS team, just giving the Aussies some match practice, sort of working zones and specific setups that they might encounter against opposition teams in New Zealand and England and Jamaica.
old England score. They're looking
They lead by 10. They look good now after a first quarter that wasn't convincing. Neville to the post. The second shot. So England with it ahead of them. They're in the second quarter. Now, Vic, think back to your most recent campaign. Would New Zealand at all be interested in watching a glimpse of this game, or are they just heads down somewhere else preparing for their match later in the day?
Perhaps they might have one of their coaching staff out having a bit of a look at this game, but I'd say they'd be very concerned about the Jamaicans. They're looking so strong, and playing at home, Jamaica has everything to play for.
You said before we went on air that you wouldn't be surprised to see them cause the upset and find their way, or you'd like to see them find their way into the final.
I would. I think it would be just wonderful for the international game, particularly for the Caribbean countries, as we see Harvey just clock Ellis in the head. But then again, the Kiwis are such wonderful fighters and a terrific netball nation.
It's very difficult, Jane, when you watch the progress of teams through a championship like this, simply by the score lines and the margins, to really gauge how good New Zealand are.
Yeah, definitely it is. I mean, Australia would come out and beat someone by 20, and you look at the score sheet for the next day, New Zealand beat them by 30. So, but you can never tell unless you're actually watching the games that what movements have been made as to what team each lineup is playing, and it's really hard to tell off a sheet of paper. Well, the Kiwis have a track record of doing that at World Championships. They always post the high scores, and they always look very impressive all the way through and into the final.
I'm waiting for you to add the last
5 seconds.
That last goal. Well, let's hope that trend continues for Australia's sake. 10 the difference. Under 5 minutes until half-time. Australia have put in a wonderful second quarter. They scored 12 goals in the first quarter, and already they've scored 10 in the second. So the work rate and the scoring rate have lifted for Australia in the second. As out comes the English keeper, McClona, wanting a piece of it. He leaves her fellow defender with an intimidating situation. 2 Australian goalers at post and 1 defender. Neil puts up her 10th. Well, they may not be in numbers, but they're colourful, the Aussie supporters.
I think I like the ones with the wigs on them.
The wig vote. Penalty being set beside Natasha Chocolate. Janie, when you've worked inside the squad and against the Australian team in Barbados before the championships, what sense do you get from Natasha Chocolate? Is she nervous or excited, or both, about the prospect of stepping onto a starting 7 in a pressure match like this?
Yeah, I think she was both. And nervous about the prospect of playing wing attack. She hasn't had much exposure there, so she was just basically trying to learn everything she could before stepping out.
Well, it was a baptism of fire. Did she honestly believe she may get on court in one of the big matches?
She was sort of being very optimistic about it, and sort of, playing it that if she got on court, then she'd take the opportunity. If not, then, she was just as happy to be on the sideline cheering for the girls.
As I would if I was a baby in the team. 24 plays 12 as McMahon walks to the sideline. Jill McIntosh makes use of the opportunity to chat with the midcourt. And the timeout has been called for Sonia McClona, the England keeper. He puts the ice bag on the left knee. Well, no need for a blackout in this match.
The Australians really are starting to stamp their authority on the game. I would be thinking they'd be looking for a 30-goal margin, be pushing it out.
So here's the question. Will Jill McIntosh again exploit the depth of the lineup? Will she let this 7 run it in preparation for final?
I wouldn't be at all surprised if she lets them run for another quarter to see if they can settle, but then again she must be concerned about having fresh legs for that final tomorrow.
So, Jane, what chances of Catherine Cox, Nicole Richardson finding themselves back in there?
Well, who knows what sort of Jill's got on the cards. Maybe she saw this England team as being a game that would be good to settle everybody on court. So looking to run everybody, but who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. It's a totally different game as to whether you're playing New Zealand or Jamaica, and the matchups on court are going to be different all the way down.
Well, that's a good point. The starting seven may well be determined by who the opponent is, and we await the result of that match. Don't forget the finals coming to you live, 9:26 a.m. tomorrow morning. That's a must-see event. Australia re-established their rhythm after a timeout for injury. Hands and feet working beautifully, the trademarks of Australian netball.
So the Australians really are mixing it up quite a bit. They're using the long ball, the cross court, the short two-handed pass, the quick double play. There's lots of variety out there.
England hesitates, held up by some ferocious mid-court defence, and it does the work. Sanders in flight, feeds it into Sinner Neal. Beautiful shot, lovely balance on the shot from Sinner. Her 11th goal, she's shooting at 85%, so good accuracy from the Australian pair.
Neal opting to come out of the circle, create some space. You saw McMahon had set up, working towards the baseline. Chocolate and Sanders are moving the ball quite well around the ring, helping the shooters, find space within the ring. They are combining very well, Chocolate and Sanders. As always, Sanders is just an overtime when it comes to the work rate. She never stands still.
Abby Tier brings out, and Harvey Williams comes down with the rebound. Harvey Williams retiring at the completion of this event.
Strong front cut then by Scholes. Sets it up for the forward line. Notice the rotation then of Chocolate and Sanders. They mix it around so they share the circle edge.
Well, that's been quite the pattern of this quarter, that rotation in attack. So the vision player to player and the timing improving as this game goes on. It was also great evidence of Australia's speed in the forward line. There's a bit on that one, some hand on the arm of Neal. And possession goes back to Australia. The security guard not happy.
He's shaking his head with a little bewilderment also. I thought it was a knowledgeable person.
So Cooper stepped into where McMahon was, so that McMahon's not at a disadvantage in taking that penalty. The defender, of course, was behind. Nice drive to the post from Tracy Neville. Comes back at her, and
umpire suggested that the shot was actually taken.
Yes.
And
well, she's lucky it wasn't taken away from her if she had taken that penalty early. It's all history now. Australia have put in a wonderful second quarter, and they go to the half-time break, leading England 26-12. We take a look at the match statistics, and Jane, Australia is certainly the more accurate of the two countries in goals. That is a glaring statistic.
Yeah, Jill would be quite happy with that. I mean, the aim of the Australian shooters throughout the whole squad is to aim to get 80% or above. So both Sinner and Sherrill have been doing quite well there. Sinner on 79% and Sherrill on 83%. And their attempts at goals, obviously they've had more attempts than the English team.
And Vicky, some beautiful rotation you commented on earlier from Australia. Evidence there of a good understanding developing in this front line.
Well, Neal and McMahon have got a terrific balance in the circle, but likewise Chocolate and Sanders have started to develop that rotation pattern out the front of the circle as well.
And that's so important to give room to the shooting pair, isn't it?
Well, it is. They need to be able to work not only in the circle, but just outside the circle. So the mid-court need to have that understanding to come on and off the circle to create that space.
And what have you made of England's change? They had Alex Askell at shooter in the first quarter, a more static holding play, and now they've got Neville working with Tier.
I think they seem to have lost a little bit of that variety they did have in the back. Yes,
just go through a bit of a phase where she wasn't hitting the post, but it made Ellis think and also occupied Harvey to a certain extent. She had to come back and make sure she tried to cover the tall shooter as well.
Taking another look at the statistics, penalty count, not too much in it, heavily, a little bit more against England.
So we see Chocolate looking for McMahon. They've used the bounce pass quite a lot in this game, the Australian line. McMahon just works that backspace so well. Hits the ball beautifully along the baseline. She has terrific elevation and a wonderful technique. That's why she's so accurate with her shot. Just under pressure from both defenders, but it doesn't seem to faze her at all. See Tracy Neville not quite in the circle. Harvey's doing a good job keeping her back, but then Astle was able to find that baseline drive. Janie, you've worked with both Sinner and Sherelle. You've run out behind Sherelle. Her speed must be incredible to play with.
It is unbelievable. You don't think that she has any opportunity of getting a ball that you put up for her, and that seems she's there.
Well, Jimmy Ellis isn't on court at the moment, but she's put in the hard work, and she's gained a reputation as one of the characters of the Australian team. It seems that while Jimmy is a qualified engineer as well as an elite netballer, her teammates say she's a bit vague when it comes to daily life.
Janine does keep us quite amused on the training camps and tours with the vague things that she does.
Recently I heard a story about her having a commitment with her son, and halfway there she realised that her son wasn't in the car, so she actually had to go home to get him.
She can be quite vague at times, definitely.
Am I as vague as I can?
She's possibly vaguer, but she's also a lot smarter than what most people think she is too.
I roomed with her in South Africa, and she came out of the bathroom brushing her teeth and looking at me. I said, Janine, what are you doing? She said, what do you mean? I said, it's my toothbrush. She said, oh, it's very similar to mine, and hers was pink and mine was green. They were totally different.
I must say that there are two other girls who are vague in the team. I don't know, maybe Natasha Chocolate might be there with me to name a few names. Maybe we don't understand her, I'm not too sure, but no, she's a smart girl, but sometimes she's very hard to understand.
Both teams back on court away the start of the third quarter. Australia leading 26-12. Really made use of that second period to take control of the game. So 12 goals in the first quarter and 14 in the second. They pushed up the scoring rate, but more importantly, really took command and restricted England to just 5 goals in that second period. Sanders. Neal on the drive. Goes to the post. Nets the first goal of the third quarter. The rookie's in good form for Australia. Chocolate working hard in defence.
Newton a little bit unsure of her release. She doesn't like the long ball. She likes the security of the short check pass.
No changes to the Australian lineup. England, though, have made mid-court changes. They've switched Aspinall and Murphy, the England captain, moving from wing attack to centre. Australia out by 16. But there's no relaxing. It's eyes on a place in the final. And how threatening for an opponent to know that on the bench are sitting players the calibre of Cox and Richardson, Illich, Southby, Broadbent, all options for Jill McIntosh, and she's not been nervous at any moment of testing the depth of her squad.
Well, Catherine Harvey said after the Jamaican game, the quality of her team, you can put that down to the state of play here in Australia in the National Netball League, and really that's what England are lacking, a very strong envy of most countries with regard to Australia. New Zealand, of course, with a strong competition, but Australia probably the premier domestic competition in the world. As Abby Keir helps England reach 14, but Australia still on a 2-to-1 ratio with the world number 3. Sanders back plays. Harvey Williams ever ready to assist in attack.
Look at the
Australian really working the moves outside the circle. Sanders relentless. There's no hitting a position and stopping and resting. It's constantly drawing players away and out of position to open space.
I just had my eyes on Sherelle McMahon. Her pace was just incredible. She just puts her foot down and she was just heading straight to that goalpost.
Yes, Janie, that's why you need someone like a Sinanil ready to pull the space and the move to get out of the way when it's needed.
Absolutely, regardless of where you are on court, you always have one eye on Sherelle. A terrific take then by Aspinall, but unfortunately couldn't deliver. She was off balance. She did remarkably well to pull it in.
A beautiful work down court from the world number 1.
It was just post to post. That approach was just wonderful.
Lovely angles, tremendous speed. The ball being put out at fingertips. Control. So Australia's stretch starts back here with a contest really between Harvey Williams and Ellis for the rebound. Ellis has the better position. The Australians are hungry and the momentum is lifting. England though finds one of the rare gaps in the Australian defensive unit. Takes their total to 15 and the crowd very supportive of the underdog.
England are doing so well defensively. They've kept the Australian team to under 30 goals in half a game of netball, but their scoring rate, they must be very disappointed in that.
Well, that has been the trend in recent years. If we go back to last year's contest, Commonwealth Games, the semi-final again between Australia and England, it was a very low-scoring game, 49 for Australia, 38 for England. Again, a defenders' match. England just not able to match the scoring rate in goals. Great pressure from Harvey Williams.
And they really did deserve a goal then. Keir displayed her great ball skills. Watch this one. She drops it around behind the back. Oh no, they just missed it. She was terrific behind the back pass. There's a lot of work going on in this goal circle.
There's some wonderful defensive work whilst we're watching the hands of Keir in the back shot. Wonderful one-on-one defence from Harvey Williams. And there's the goal you wanted. England hit 16, Australia 30. So that's Abby Keir from Melbourne. Been playing with England for a few years now, and she really does add something special to the lineup.
She has that great Australian speed and also that high action on the shot.
Beautiful reply from another magnificent Victorian netballer. So England, as we mentioned earlier, evidence of Australian and New Zealand influence in coaching and in player personnel. And we've seen some of the England players out here playing in our domestic league. Great to see international netball start to mix across the boundaries. As here, the left-hander goes to the post again and have a second opportunity.
Neville's decided she has to mix it up with Harvey. They're having a great one-on-one battle. That's the type of game Harvey loves.
Oh, strong contest. Newton up for it. Newton and McMahon prepared to take it on physically. Held up by Keir. Back plays to Aspinall. They go backwards again. The pressure there from McMahon.
There's no movement in the circle there at all. The shooters were basically doing head dodges with no feet movement whatsoever. Makes it very hard to feed in.
Abby Keir clipping the feet of the Australian skipper. Ellis with the token gesture to the shot, but the work is on the shooter under the post.
And Neville didn't offer anything. It could have easily popped out for that little pass off from Keir instead of putting under so much pressure on that penalty shot.
Yes, even if not used, it often just distracts the defender for that second as Australia throw a stray one from the hands of Neil. And now been wonderfully consistent right through this semi-final. England at 53, and I think we mentioned earlier, shooting one of the areas of their game that's disappointing. Here at 56%, Neville at 43, and Asta before she left was at 57. So not so many of their three shooters have we seen that 80% mark that really does lift a team at this level. Again, it's static in the English circle. She had herself pinned on the baseline. Great pressure from the Australian pair. Ellis and Harvey-Williams draw the throw in. And Neville, slow to get to her feet, acknowledges the workload required to get away from these Aussie defenders.
They were just tucked in behind, and both Ellis and Harvey have terrific side-on defence.
Post to post, unchallenged at the Australian end. Watch again the pressure, front position, great movement of the feet. And clean, uncontested on that. Clean work, Ellis, off the body then. Simply that Neville, after the pressure, not able to hold a balance on court.
Tending to go backwards a lot more now, England, than what they are going forward.
And Australia continue the relentless pressure, 2-to-1 ratio.
Good
halfway
screen
through the third.
Great screen then by Neville. With Abby Tear just ducking in behind her.
Neville dogs it back. She's 3 from 6. Now 4 from 8. Oh, that's the intercept from McMahon. Clever use of the floorboard. Lucina Neal has really lifted across the game. Now taking those commanding mid-range shots. And I've never seen Jill Mack look quite as relaxed.
No, she's looking very relaxed. In fact, is this Neal's first time up against England twice? I think it might be. Yes.
Yes, got no arguments from the panel.
No.
We're all nodding.
She wasn't on the tour last year.
No, touches of Jamaica earlier, but not against the English Roses. Well, she has now, and she's counted for herself well. So what a rise. Good raps on her last year as a lovely playmaker.
So we give her the raps and misses the shot. Jinxed her, I think.
Well, I guess if anything, we were waiting for the shooting accuracy to mature under the pressure, but she's sitting at 77% in this match, and they don't come too much tougher than a semis. She was solid against Jamaica, and may yet prove to be against New Zealand. So Australia's lineup, the starting 7 unchanged from the first whistle, as Shear tries the layup without too much room to manoeuvre, and then pops one from a fellow shooter. And the left hand proving useful there as Shear can use it off the baseline to be away from the defender.
Ellis has just been caught out the last 2 times, playing high, looking for the long ball coming in. So it's left Abby Tear under the post the last 2 occasions.
McMahon opens the arm up. And it's a juggling act from Neal that she needs to rehearse another time. Ball a little behind her, difficult to take. And that's the movement we were talking of earlier that was lacking from Neville, but he's off advice here. She rolls off. Three offers under the post. England just on a little bit of a shooting spree, had scored the last 4 on the trot, so they were at a standstill early. that was pretty soft.
Absolutely. She used the nice reverse tap, hit the ball out. One skill that's really quite tough to teach youngsters how to do.
So let's break aerial control using the outside arm and then swinging through cleanly. I think it needed some reward. England with another turnover have just lifted their momentum.
Neville just getting caught behind Harvey, not doing enough work to take Harvey to the side. She's just dodging on the spot.
England are leading this third quarter. Australia have scored 8 goals and England 11. Just under 2 minutes until the break. So Janie, should I start sweating and worrying yet, or is it all in control?
Not yet, but I think the Australian team will be quite disappointed with this quarter. They obviously go out to win each quarter, and so they'll be going to the bench to readdress a few things, and I'm sure Jill will be just questioning a few moves for the players and wondering what they're doing.
Well, England has scored the last 3 on the trot. Prior to that, there was an Australian goal, and then before that goal, England 5 on the trot. So they have monopolised possession as Jill McIntosh walks to the centre and speaks to the huddle. I couldn't quite see who called the timeout or for what. There's Lynn Gunston in the centre of the English huddle, and to her right with glasses, Waitamanu laying down the law to the back line. And I would expect there's a bit of law being laid down within the Australian huddle as well. 9 the difference, so Australia looking so comfortable. Only 5 minutes ago had just relinquished a good deal of this lead.
Well, who would have thought? I actually said I thought they should have really pushed it out to 30. So the English
Well, we
team...
blame you. Well, England playing with a lot of pride, and now with the sniff of the chance to cause the upset. Australia, who we were wrapping up for putting in more solid, lengthier performance in this match, have just gone off the boil as England read another Australian play and turn it into red.
We're throwing a lot of cross-court ball across the circle edge, which really is very dangerous.
Well, just to give you some benchmarks as we watch Chocolate open the arm up in a pass that was telegraphed and read well by England. New Zealand on day 6 defeated England by 19 goals, 60 to 41. So we'll leave that as a benchmark for you.
Screaming for the ball. She was free. They just didn't spot her.
Pass left much too late, and Tia running out of room by then. Less than a minute on the clock. Jane, what do you think? Will Jill McIntosh make some changes or let them run this one out?
It wouldn't surprise me if she makes a change for this final quarter. Just to rest some legs and give some other players an opportunity, and just to mix it up a bit for the English team, just to keep them on their toes a little bit more.
Do you see a question mark over any particular player or any area in particular?
I think the centre court might be looking for a change. Natasha Chocolate has just put a few wayward passes the last few minutes, so unless she does a few very steady things over the next minute, then 30 seconds, then there might be a change there.
Neil adds 1 before the break, pushes the lead out to 10, so that looks a little healthier, but the second part of that third quarter, danger signs as Australia relaxes. Umpires come together and the teams go to the third quarter break. And Jane, just take us through these Australian statistics.
Neil and McMahon, the stats are still looking quite good. Neil sitting on 76% and McMahon with 80%, with a combined total of 76%, I believe it is. And the penalties against Harvey Williams and Ellis, reasonably high. They're not too bad. They're just going for the ball, basically.
The turnover rate, 4 against Chocolate, doesn't really read alarm bells, although we did notice them, didn't we?
Yeah, I think it was probably just the last few minutes where 2 balls that were given by Chocolate that sort of made it stand out a little bit more. So
nice shot. Neil has held her accuracy well, Vic.
Yes, she has, but also a work rate out the front. She's doing a lot of work to come out the circle to leave that circle free for McMahon. very nicely. He seems to handle the pressure over the shot as well. McClymber and Newton, they aren't very easy to shoot over.
You see there that Clark has been in chase position a lot on Natasha Chocolate, beaten by the speed. It's more been not in an area of pressure, but just putting the ball parallel rather than down the court that's caught Chocolate.
Yeah, I think the English defenders have sat off the last 10 minutes of that quarter, just having a look at what's going on, and that sort of led the Australians to believe that there's probably space to pass the ball across the court.
Well, I think exactly what you said is legacy of the coaching direction they're under. Waitamanu in particular has sat them right back and said, watch the ball, have a look at where the ball is, don't worry so much about the body, and it's paid dividends as we take a look at the England stats. McClymber heavy in the penalty count, but you wouldn't take her off, would you, Dan?
No, I don't think so. She's causing a bit of chaos there and reading the ball quite well on the last few occasions. The same with Newton. She's got a fair few penalties against her, but the two combining together is what's causing the Australian shooters just a little bit of hassle around the top of the circle.
And I guess similar to Australia, the mid-court has wasted some opportunity. The turnover rate heavy against Murphy and Neville.
Yeah, Clark, Murphy and Aspinall are working well around the circle. They're just going, seem to be that they're working well onto the top of the circle. So.
Fourth and final quarter. This is the World Championship semi-final. The winner will go into the final against either New Zealand or Jamaica. And Australia, who was looking on target for something like a 30-goal win, just took the foot off in the third quarter. Finn O'Neill has left the court, and Catherine Cox, sporting a new hairstyle, has moved on at goal shooter. Changes in the mid-court as well as we preempted. Richardson now on at centre. Sanders has moved to wing attack. So Jill McIntosh not prepared to sit this one out. She wants some impact, and it's come through a mid-court and a shooting change. No changes to England, who won that third quarter well against Australia. Really lifted, changed the defensive format, and now Australia need to settle. 10 the difference. So Vicky, we can't write England off. It's 5 turnovers converted, isn't it?
Well, absolutely, and they've been great competitors. To come back in that third quarter really did catch Australia out. So you can understand why Jill McIntosh made the change. Needed the experience of Richardson in the middle, needed some more work rate off Sanders at wing attack, but also the injection of Cox. Perhaps just to keep Cox in touch for that final time, but you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself. An old cliche, but a beauty, just take one game at a time, and they really do have to win this one.
Well, that's been Jill's quote in the press, one match at a time. But I have to say, we all felt that we shouldn't assume the starting 7 for this match would necessarily be the start for tomorrow's game. It may well depend on whether it's New Zealand or Jamaica. But let's get through this one first. And some decisions to be made for Jill. 10 the difference. But England playing from pride and also urgency. It's now or never if they're to make the final. Can't pull off the pressure they've put on Australia, and unfortunately a timeout for injury, as much as it's needed, doesn't assist them in making a run.
No, it doesn't. They've been wanting to come home very strong, the Australian team. But again, it's all the feel of the team is just all about that timing and just being able to push through the 15 minutes of having great play coming down court and good defensive work rate.
English centre. Back to Clark. The crowds are watchful, are perhaps more interested in the second semi-final when Jamaica, the host nation, will come out against world number 2, New Zealand. Kingston, the venue. Australia have been in every World Championship final. They've won 8 out of a possible 10.
combination, but too much on it, and smart work by Liz Ellis. And that's sweet a play by the Australian forward line.
Good movement by McMahon, read the space well. Times that just so beautifully, that drop it into the baseline area.
What a challenge for Catherine Cox, who must feel a little like she has 15 minutes to re-establish herself in the starting 7. Is that how she'd feel?
I'd say so.
It was a tough one. First comes the win, that you must be part of making the win, but also in your mind would be, I've got to do enough to maybe shake up that mindset of Jill McIntosh and shift that shooting combination.
I think also with Cass Cox, it's just her calm nature get her through. She's a very relaxed player.
And she's a brilliant impact player for that reason. She will just come on and slot in and normally start from the first with great accuracy. Very confident to put up the long bomb.
At the moment she's just working on that forward space, just stepping out and taking 2 steps.
Well, Australia had a rest day after they played Jamaica, and by the look of some of the hairdos, they put it to good use. And it wasn't damaged by an outing against Barbados yesterday.
McCloma making very sure she took it in the right spot.
Well, England post to post with a beautiful display and the layup. What confidence from Abby here. And the look on Ellis' face tells the whole story.
Still McIntosh shaking it. I just can't believe they did that.
Yes. Well, it was pretty netball.
The trademark of Abby Keir. She loves that little layup.
Well, she set herself quite wide to use the space there. And she was undeterred that she might be challenged right at the end of it. Australia in possession. They lead by 12. 10 minutes remaining in this match. This is the first of 2 semi-finals. A place in the final at stake. That match tomorrow, 9:26 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Coming to you live from Kingston, Jamaica. Where the configuration of the court has changed from previous days. There were 2 courts operating throughout the round. Now it's moved to a 1-court configuration, maximise the crowd and the atmosphere. England forced to play it around. Australia stepped up the pressure in defence, except they sat back on that one and allowed Neville to drive to the post.
I was about to say, they were just working very laterally. England, they weren't taking any of the cuts towards the post, but eventually opened up for them.
We sat back a little watching it, I think. Normally trademark from Harvey Williams to come screaming out. Sanders cross-court to Richardson, who, like Cox, would like to force their way back into the starting 7. Cox and Richardson started in the game against Jamaica.
I think if Australia do play New Zealand tomorrow, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Richardson back in that line.
Well, they've been playing for about 6 minutes in this final quarter. How would you assess the positional changes and the impact?
They've come out with a lot more passion, the Australian team. They seem to be fired up. They would have been very disappointed they didn't achieve their target to only score 9 goals in that last quarter. It must have been very frustrating.
Well, England took that quarter 13-9 and are running goal for goal again with Australia. It's still 10. It was 10 at 3-quarter break. Abby's here at 81%.
Well, Tia lucky to get away with that one. She was bouncing and ducking behind Ellis.
England have again had a scoring spree. They've scored the last 4 on the trot. They've brought the lead within 9. So Australia not convincing in the close of this match. They were hesitant at the start of the game. Took them a little to settle. They trailed England by 2 for a good part of the first quarter, but steady before the end of that quarter to go to the first break, 12-7. Half-time, they'd pushed the scoreline out to 26-12 after a solid second quarter.
Great ball then by Olivia Murphy. Did enough to take Ellis out of the circle. Not sure what Neville did then. Turn the ball over.
But Harvey Williams loved it. She slapped the hands together, so it's something they've been waiting to be acknowledged. By three-quarter time, Australia had slowed down the momentum, and England took that quarter, so it was 35-25 at three-quarter time, and now it's goal for goal.
Good feed by Sanders then. She put it around the long arms of the England defence in this possession.
Cox is working overtime on that wide space, making it very difficult for McClona to get around. Brilliant ball from Harvey Williams, who had great vision in picking up McMahon. And the lead now out to 12. Australia scored the last three. Good ball. Had some speed on it from Neville. Oh, a little trick pass from T, who does love the behind-the-back plays. Harvey Williams working around, disguising the spaces on Neville. Ellis will stand out to contact. Interesting to see if Neville provides an option for Tia. No, she has confidence that she'll just go straight to the post. Just over 6 minutes remaining in this match. Okay, my expert, how would you assess this performance? Let's assume Australia survive the remainder of this quarter, make their way into the final. Are we on track?
We're on track. We're in the final, but quality of play, consistent over 4 quarters, I don't think so. I think there's a few question marks, but I think that's going to be a big test for them, for that final to rise to the occasion, to lift to the next level, and because there's just so much passion and pride when playing for Australian World Championship final, I think we have the goods to do it.
And there you see it, the pride and the passion on display through the skills. Wonderful play down court for Australia. The finish doesn't come from them.
And really that has been it, hasn't it? They've lacked the finish. We just don't seem to have that polish that we normally see in this Australian line.
I don't think it's been a performance that will make them overconfident, but perhaps it will steel them to the tough job ahead. And Australians are good at lifting to the challenge. It won't be the first time that they may go into it not the favoured team. Favourites by right as world champions, but perhaps not by recent form. And they've lifted time and time before. Such is the power of the green and gold. Another strong shot from Abby Keir, who's 19 goals from 30 attempts. 10 the difference. Australia carving a pathway to the final. They lead England by 10 in a low-scoring game that's been dominated by strong defence. The hold worked by McMahon. The drive from Cox. Brilliant rebound, but it's into English hands. England have scored the last two.
They're putting this ball into the space very nicely, the English team, very much like the way New Zealand play.
They're back playing it, aren't they? It's going to the player on the drop, floating behind the defender. The difference now back to 9. Under 4 minutes remaining. It will be an Australian win, but the question mark is the margin.
Well, it's definitely not 30.
Yeah, thanks for that. I take your point, though, and at the time you made that comment, when you have reprimanded yourself severely a couple of times since making it, there was every reason to expect the game to open up and the increments to continue. It was 26-12 at half-time, with Australia on track to pushing it out. But the wheels fell off a little, and I don't know that the changes have particularly addressed that, although I think it's more that England have lifted and Australia are having difficulty re-entering. Murphy goes against McMahon, contact on the ball. Australia by 9, under 3 minutes remaining in this match. Big hands outside the English circle. They're prepared to work it till they find a shooter, but Schultz is watchful.
Well, that was a great challenge by Schultz, or she was for offside.
Keir's just having a field day. She's finishing strongly, Abby Keir. The lead now reduced to 8 with an England centre. I just got goosebumps. It can't be done in 2.5, tell me.
No, it can't
No.
be. But the Australians in the crowd weren't looking very happy. In fact, I thought one of them was chewing her nails.
Keir looks cool under the pressure. Robs Zealand captain, the preparedness to keep reoffering rather than one move be enough. That continual support play and looking for new spaces and new positions, very familiar to the New Zealand style. Well, the position was good, but not the elevation from Neville. Australia get a breather. They swoop down court. Into the pocket they go through Richardson. Good work there by McClover and Newton. They covered up that circle so well. Well, McMahon was offering the screen and the hold, but Cox was out of the circle, unable to use it. About a minute, just over a minute on the clock. McMahon, unperturbed by the negative cheers, cuts herself into the space, takes Australia to 44. The lead now out again to 8. So it hasn't been a pretty finish for Australia. It's been a laboured second half. They've seen them lose the first quarter to England and run goal for goal with them in this final quarter. But they will have done enough for that all-important spot in the final. And it's a whole new game, a whole new start.
See the arms of McCloma just reaching up over the back draw there, but got picked up for contact.
Michelle Fippard on screen, one of the Australians working the international pool of umpires. And that is full time. We've got a couple of seconds left on our clock, but the umpires have called it. And Australia have found their way into the final of the 11th World Netball Championship after a tough encounter against a very determined England, a prideful England. Australia 45, England 37. And Australia have done enough. They'll sit back now and await their opponent. It will be either New Zealand or Jamaica. And James, the match statistics.
Yeah, the attempts are only slightly higher for Australia in 5 goals. Percentage, well, Australia's crept back a bit in the goal percentage. They're shooting at 73%, so they'll be slightly disappointed with that, hoping that they might be able to get that up to 80% when they play either New Zealand or Jamaica in the next game.
Australian bench a little sombre. The Australian crowd, though, support their Aussie girls. And the scoreline means little as long as it's the win and a place in that final. English fans applauding. Fight back from their girls. Wonderful, classy display from a team that looked like they were falling away from the contest at half-time. They really back in the match. The second half, England 25 goals, Australia 19. So Australia's win was earned through particularly a brilliant performance in the second quarter. That's where they carved the result. Looking at the quarter break, 12-7 at the end of the first. Australia won that second quarter 14-5. That's where the damage was done. And then you see the trend reversed in the third and the fourth quarters. England dominating in the third and ever so slightly in that final quarter. So what messages will that bring to Jill McIntosh?
Well, I think Jill will be going back with the girls and just making sure that that the team will come together and have a look at the game today. I mean, it's going to be different for next time.
Janie, we'll just listen to the words of Jill McIntosh.
The English team maybe make changes at three-quarter time in the centre court and shooting. How did you think that their defensive effort affected you?
Oh, they're a quality side defensively. They really put the pressure on, but I thought we played into their hands a bit by throwing some silly ball in. But something we'll look at tonight and hopefully rectify it by tomorrow.
There was a contrast in the shooting stats between the first half and second half. Is that an area that you will be working on between now and tomorrow night?
Yeah, so the shots had to go in, and I think it was the sustained pressure of the England defenders that did it. But our shooters have to be more resilient, and they have to hold up for 4 quarters.
Good luck tomorrow night, Jill.
Thank you.
So it's on to the final, no matter whether it's another battle against New Zealand or a rematch with the host Jamaica, you won't want to miss it. Vicky, Jane and I will be here to bring you live tomorrow morning at 9:26 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. How do you feel after that one?
Well, I'm a little bit nervous about tomorrow, that's for sure. It wasn't a great finish. The shots weren't going in. We were looking a little bit erratic through the mid-court. The defenders at times were coming off the go a little bit too soon, so quite a bit to do overnight, but fingers crossed I think it will come through in the end.
I think Jill's comments, Jane, were mainly about the calibre of defence from both teams, and if anything, we struggle working our way through what was a faster defence than this.
Definitely. I mean, they changed from the first quarter in the way that they were setting up for the defence. They made a different lineup. They positioned themselves differently on the shooters in the attacking lineup, pushing them wide instead of letting them have the run of the middle court.
Well, I think a lot of that can put down to the coaching influence, the Kiwi influence, and in fact the Waikato is courtside at the moment. We'll come to her in a minute. She's just being interviewed, but I think you could really see the impact of her coaching style and particularly the changes she brought Cutler through that game.
Well, as Jane said, they worked on that offline defence where they stayed back, conceded that first ball, and they were looking to pick that second lead, and that's where the Australians struggled. It was sort of like a bit of an area defence, and they weren't coming on to the ball strongly. That they then were caught doing that lateral pass.
Well, let's talk about the changes Australia brought in that last period. Do you think it made much difference, or was it too late to have impact?
I don't think it made that much of a difference, but it did pick up the speed for the mid-court. I thought bringing Sanders back into that wing attack role allowed Cox to work that circle a lot more, and she did that. She was starting to pop on out for that low ball. She didn't really do that much work in the circle, but was just able to sit on that hold position.
So, put your coaching hats on. Firstly, who do you think Australia will meet in the final?
Jamaica.
I'm going Jamaica as well.
Okay.
I think I might stick with the Kiwi.
I just like to mix it up a little bit. That's my job. Catherine Harvey-Williams, of course, let's listen to what she had to say after that tough game.
Will it change for tomorrow?
No, I think that's always been our strong point, our full court defence. But I think we had contributors in defence, but also in attack. We had some strong drives and moved the ball quickly, and we probably got a little bit static in that second half. So we'll learn a lesson from that.
Who do you think you'll be facing tomorrow in the final?
It's the top of the coin, really. Both sides are terrific. All we want is a really tough clash out there tonight, so they're tied for tomorrow's game, whoever we play.
All the best.
Thanks, Janet.
Catherine Harvey-Williams there, and of course Australia not overly confident that they will go into the final knowing it's a whole new game. It really doesn't matter who it is. Okay, I've asked who you thought would be in the final, and we're split, so that's a good thing. How would you start Australia?
They're playing Jamaica. I would still start Catherine Cox at goal, McMahon. I think I would run Sanders and Richardson, Scholes, Harvey-Williams, Ellis. And if you needed to swing the change, you've seen that Chocolate has risen to the occasion. She's able to slot in there quite nicely. So I wouldn't hesitate in throwing Chocolate in with Sanders back in the middle.
So you go to the extent. The back line doesn't appear to be impressive. Nobody's raising Eloise Darcy in their comments.
I think Eloise is still trying to get back into the momentum of things. I mean, obviously she's coming back from illness, and so she's played the games previously leading up to it, obviously helped out, and I mean she's always a person that you can put on the court, and she's not going to let the team down at all.
And you're starting 7 and 3?
Well, I think it'd be slightly different for Vicky. I'm not sure between Cox and Neal as to who to start there. I'd probably give Chocolate a run at wing attack and leave Sanders in the centre there. I think this is playing against Jamaica. Purely for the speed defence, Jamaica have the tendency to actually get under your feet a little bit more. So I think with the speed of Chocolate in wing attack, then hopefully they won't bottle up over that transfer time.
Now, you've both tipped Jamaica to win the other semi. Who would you prefer we play? Which do you think is the easier opponent for us if you've got eyes on that gold medal?
I think New Zealand, because of the home court advantage Jamaica will have, the crowd, they're just so passionate, it'll be very, very loud, but then I think that just adds to the atmosphere of a terrific final.
Well, you entrepreneur, you.
Well, we're not sure who it'll be, but it is on to the final. And no matter whether it's another battle against New Zealand or a rematch with the host Jamaica, you won't want to miss it. Vicky Jane and I will be here to bring it to you live tomorrow morning at 9:26 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Even if you have other commitments tomorrow morning, you can still see the highlights in our special replay at 10:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the final isn't the only big event on ABC Sports this weekend. The historic first cricket test between Australia and Bangladesh continues this morning right here live at 9:55 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Australia looks set to wrap up that game today, and you can see all the action live right here on everyone's ABC. And that's all we have time for today. Don't forget the cricket coming up in less than an hour, and then tomorrow it's the big one. Australia defending their World Netball Championship live right here. Thanks for your company. Thanks again, Vicky and Jane. It's been great working with you. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, enjoying your company again for the final. I'm Anne Sargent. Goodbye for now.